Is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Philly Blitz podcast brought to you by 14th and Market, episode 156. 56. Was that? No, was Chris Long 56? No.
I think.
Was he?
Usually was 56 or 59.
That's what 56. Look at that.
Yeah.
Hurts Chris Long podcast. Beautiful. Beautiful. What a matchup. What a matchup for the podcast. But as you can see, it's only me and Quell right now, and Pierre will be joining us in a little bit. But I was thinking about this before we got on, Quell, that this is like it's the evolution of the Philly Bliss podcast within one episode. And we're recording today on a Tuesday because I'm back in Philly, and it's the last day in this house. My family is moving, so we will no longer be in the house where the P's and Q's podcast, the Philly Blitz podcast, all of those started. We had our first live pod here, and I walked up to the house, and I've told Qual this story so many times, but like the stoop in front of our house, I remember sitting there. Now it's been like 7 years ago, 7 years ago, sitting on the porch and just like talking to Quell and like being like, all right, like let's try to do this like podcast thing. And now, we're sitting here years later, different show, same vibes. Let's go. But just crazy to think about. Time really flies, and it's been such a good time. We were legitimate strangers, and now you're gonna come to my wedding. I've been to your wedding. Like it's crazy how these things work. So very, very thankful for that, and definitely been in a reflective mood leaving Philly for now. But I'll be back.
Damn, man, how do you follow that up? Wubble up a dub to those who celebrate. It is added one and only Marquel Fripp Owens. And like you said, brother, I mean, it's kind of like an end of an era. It feels like the house that P's and Q's built. And now it's just like on to other endeavors. It's crazy, man. But speaking of being back in Philly for yourself, how does it feel being back in the city? How's the off-season vibe there? Do you still walk around to feel the energy in the air, or is it the negative?
There's no real energy right now. There's just nothing going on. I mean, the Sixers were fun for that Hornets game, and then just made me want to end it all during the Heat game. So that's no different than usual. But it's good to see Joe out there, obviously. But it's not like there's like crazy energy out there at this point. But it's just one of those small things that you miss about the city. That I was just like walking around, and there's just some guy jogging in his Sixers gear, and just seeing that around. That's always the nice part about Philly. I think the best way people describe it is it's like a college town on steroids, where everyone's just kind of got the city's colors on in some way, shape, or form, and it's just like it's always just kind of there in the background. So that's been definitely nice to see and experience again.
Definitely, man. Well, let's get into some of the action and the banter that has taken place since the last time we spoke. And I mean, we have the NFL owners meetings going on. There's been no discussions about tush pushes, oddly enough.
Wow, fascinating.
It's just like, what can you say? What can you really say? But we did have the opportunity. I wish I could find video footage like we could today of the big balls. But we had the opportunity to hear from Howie Roseman, nonetheless, hear from Nick Sirianni. And then today, while we were expecting a press conference earlier in the day, saying we were expecting a press conference from Brandon Graham, that just like never happened.
Right.
Yeah. Does. Like I said, it would happen. But
were you the one who tweeted that his wife made the call, or was it Pierre?
Pierre.
Yeah,
he was like, yeah, she did the ball smooth, because I could have sworn it was just a few weeks back we were hearing like Brandon Graham could return for another season.
Right,
so like,
right.
Oh, okay.
Almost all the whole offseason. Oh, he can still move. He can still do that. And his wife was like, yeah, he can still move. So that's why we want him to be able to move after retirement.
Time to put the fries in the bag now. If you like with the family, go ahead, be a family man. You didn't earn. But
Definitely.
what's some of your takeaways from some of the things that you've heard over the weekend?
Should we start with everyone's favorite takeaway? AJ Brown is an Eagle. It's
My gosh.
mind-numbing at this point, but those. It's always nice to hear that still. That like when they actually say it, right? We can say like, "Oh, they said this before," and then people can always say, "Oh, things will change," and this and that and whatnot. But Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman both got up there and talked about how important AJ Brown is to this team and that he's a part of this team. You know, um, and it's also kind of felt like this week. I don't know if you felt this way, Quell, but it's felt like it's kind of put a bow on the whole thing. It's just kind of felt like it's on a downturn at this point in terms of how much people are talking about it or how big of a news story it is. Do you feel that way, or do you still feel like it's
Um, it's definitely been a roller coaster to say the least.
yeah,
I mean, I thought we were trending towards the downswing. I mean, everything seemed all nice when Patriots this general manager Elliot Wolf
mm-hmm.
was asked about the circumstance, and he kind of was like, he kind of reiterated the same thing that Nick and Howie said, where AJ Brown's an Eagle. I mean, it was something we haven't talked about in a long time. And I mean, yeah, it was what it was. And then today happened. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, what the hell? And it's like, this is kind of the epitome of the AJ Brown saga as a whole. This is exactly how it always goes. It's going great, it's going great, and then out of nowhere, some BS. Where today
Yeah,
you starts with Patriots coach Mike Wearable being asked about the potential of adding AJ Brown. And he didn't necessarily say AJ by name, but he kind of went out on a limb and was like, "Yeah, I mean, we're not done building the roster. We can still build the roster, whether it be from trading, acquiring people through trade, through the draft, through free agency. There's a lot of time left. So, I mean, he didn't necessarily say anything to set the Wolves out, but he definitely added smoke to the fire. And then just moments ago, having an opportunity to hear from Jeffrey Lurie, where the big boss was asked about it, where he also had the opportunity to extinguish the flames. And that
right.
answer did not sound like an answer of a guy that will be a Philadelphia Eagle for a long time, man. It wasn't
Oh,
encouraging.
I think I missed that. Then I had been tapped into the Nick and Howie one, but I didn't. I knew Jeff had spoken, but I hadn't gone gone through it yet. Um, well, damn, it's so confusing, dude. I really don't know where to land on it all. Like, how, and I'm sick of it. And honestly, we won't talk about it anymore because it seems like people are sick of it too. Because we're getting tweets. I mean, hey, Philly Blitz Twitter account retweeted by Kay Adams. Just so y'all know, that's motion. That's motion. Shout out Pierre for that tweet. But most people are sick of it. Most people are sick of hearing about the AJ Brown saga at this point. So yeah, I hope we can come to a conclusion on it, and I hope he's on the team because he's really good at football. And like this is just getting so stupid. Also funny that from the um, media session that we the team that we're going to practice with in the summer is the Patriots. You can't make this up, dude. You really can't. Quell is fed up with it completely. He's not even laughing. He's like, "You kidding me? You kidding me?"
The whole this whole AJ Brown thing is just beyond me,
Yeah.
honestly.
No, I don't blame you, bro.
It's part of I had this discussion on one of my podcasts, one of my Boomer Boss episodes, where it's like everybody in Philadelphia has kind of entrenched themselves in this whole AJ Brown thing. And I told Pierre after the season ended, man, I said, soon the season wasn't even ended, man. We probably had like almost a month left of the season. And I'm like, brother, I'm doing mock drafts. The hell with everything else that's going on. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I don't think it turns out the way we wanted to turn out. And I mean, long and behold, it didn't. But I, of course, you have no choice but to be informed with how often people are talking about it and where they're talking about it. It's just the big news everywhere, apparently. But I've tried to just watch as many draft prospects as I can to drown myself out of the sorrows, man. It is pretty. I don't even know what word to use. I almost said annoying, but it's worse than
It
that
is
at
annoying.
this
It's
point.
frustrating. It's grating. Like it's gotten to the point where, I mean, and I don't even think gotten to the point is fair because I think it's probably been here at this point for a while. But no Eagles fans are actually interested in this conversation at this point. This conversation is fully for the benefit of the national media and for the Patriots fans and everything else because we're all just sick of it. Because I think most Eagles fans are honestly at a point now where it's like, all right, if you're going to trade him, just trade him, but get this shit over with. Like, we're just tired of constantly hearing about it. It's the same thing every single day, and that's just it's exhausting, man. It's exhausting, and it's just the back and forth. At one point, you just want the situation to be closed, right? Like, how much more are we just gonna go ping ponging back and forth? It's
Like
just yeah,
it's just one of those things where the fact that we're probably gonna have to deal with this for another 2 months at
oh,
minimum
absolutely,
is nauseating to say the least.
yeah, I would
It's
agree,
just
brother.
wish it. Of course, you don't want him to be traded because I mean, like I've continued to say, like I will often say, they're a better football team with AJ Brown. I would love for somebody to explain to me or find me what the solution would be. You trade AJ Brown and you head into the season with Devonta Smith as the wide receiver one. Great, perfect. What you doing at wide receiver two, and how do you basically fulfill the production that you just lost?
So
Because it's
two things to that point, because I mean that's why I kind of felt good about AJ being here until you told me about Jeff's comments because Nick was like, we don't consider them, wide receiver 1 and 2. It's wide receiver 1A, 1B, right? Somebody kind of asked a question about, do you think Devontae can step up and be a wide receiver 1? So I did like that comment because it's kind of how we approach it and how we view the building as well, and it shows that they still think of him as an integral block within the building. But messaging can be different from different levels. So even beyond that, I have a question for you. Don't you think some of this talk will die down by the end of the draft? I mean, we're a month out from the draft, right? Now I know June 1st is like the trade date that everybody's been kind of talking about, a post June 1st designation, that type of thing. Um, but after the draft, I mean, we'll kind of know what the Eagles are thinking, right? Don't you think that's fair? Of like, if we see them go receiver early, I mean, maybe it's like an indication that, hey, AJ Brown might not be here, right? They're thinking towards the future. And then if we see them, you know, take a receiver a little bit later, not prioritize it as much, don't you think that would kind of signal like, hey, AJ Brown might be on the roster? Or do you think it's just one of those where they'll just take the BPA and then we'll live with it this year? Because I don't know about that methodology this year, because we've talked about it with the Super Bowl window, right? Like it's limited with this current team.
yeah, man, that's the big thing where it's like historically, you look at the Eagles, you look at Howie Roseman. He hasn't been a pick for need kind of guy. It's very
Right.
rare you see him reach for a position or reach to fill a need where it's like, I mean, yeah, the Eagles had needed that position, so it makes sense that they took that guy. So I don't think that the board will have to fall to them the way that they would appreciate it, in my opinion. I feel as if the receiver isn't there, and don't get me wrong, I also feel like they'll be willing to be pretty active, whether it be moving up or down boards. But if they feel like a receiver is in striking distance and it's basically ideal enough to make that move, I do think it'll be very telling on what the future of AJ Brown is. So
Right.
it's something to keep an eye on, nonetheless.
Understood, man. I don't know what. all right, let's move on from AJ. What tell me another takeaway you had from this meeting, and I'm gonna go run and blow my nose again because these allergies are killing me.
So for me, from the Jeffrey Lurie meeting today, it was a lot of big takeaways. He talked about the potential for a new stadium. He didn't really sound like he was in a hurry to kind of get in a new place. He did say that renovations or extensions, where this was the term that he used, was available for the link, even though the lease is, I believe, through 2032. So it's interesting to see how that goes. I think he's kind of trying to wait everybody out around there, or at least the Sixers, to see what the Sixers have going on. And if the Sixers move, then it's a lot more space to work with. So, what you think about that?
It's interesting for sure. It's probably about time for an upgrade of some sort in the next couple of years. It's been 20 something years at this point, which is crazy to think about, right? But the other side of it is when it comes to the NFLPA grades, they haven't scored spectacularly in the locker room and training facility kind of aspects of it. So definitely some room to upgrade there because they have high marks everywhere else. And, that's kind of the one spot that's always kind of harped on. So knowing Jeffrey, knowing how the Eagles kind of operate as a building or as an organization, I think it's something that they'll definitely be keeping in mind and something that they'll be planning. Always down for some nice upgrades, as long as they don't mess with the amount of people we can fit in there. Because that's my biggest pet peeve when football stadiums go for like, oh, we're gonna make this like special section or whatever, like with extra room for people to sit, and it's like, well, you're just cutting down on the number of fans you can have in there. And to me, pack the fans the hell in. The soccer fans in Europe and Latin America have that shit right, man. Those are some packed stands, and they're just nuts. Like that's it. You go to the game for the energy. I don't want these games to just be another influencer event because that's what they try to make some of these bigger events for. That's what the Super Bowl has already become. It's just like, oh, look at all these famous people who go there. Like football games are for football fans. It's for the people. So keep that, the root of everything. But then, of course, make things nicer. There should be no problem with that. But, I don't want to lose what makes us special, because Florida's been talking about that. And I don't want any bit of that. Cut down on capacity to put in some extra nice glass section or something. Like, dude, get out of here, bro. Like, we want to be noisy. Like, that's what you want, the competitive advantage. So I like all that, but within reason, right?
Yeah, I can definitely understand that, man. And it was interesting, especially given like some of the stuff you said when you think about some of the NFLPA grades and things of that nature, where the term that Jeff kept using was first class. And I'm like, I mean, are you telling me about what your goals are for what you want them to be?
Isn't that actually like legit? One of the complaints is that they don't have enough first class seats on the jet, that they want to get a new jet with enough first class seats for everyone. I'm almost certain that was like one of the complaints, that the jet doesn't have like space for everyone. Like there's certain like, first class type of seats. And then some teams have planes with like every seat is basically like first class. So that would be funny if that actually like is exactly the wording he was using, but definitely agree. They were first class at some point, but I mean, you can tour the Eagles locker room and you can see it. And their locker room has been the same since I toured it in 2014 in high school. Like it hasn't changed much since then. So definitely time for them to look into that. From a football perspective though, man, well, one more kind of like off the field, the Stout stuff, very odd, just very back and forth about like, is he going to be back? Is he not going to be back? Because earlier this week, there was some kind of chatter throughout Twitter that, oh, he might be coming back now. He might have interest in, being back with the team. But then, Lane Johnson says on a podcast that Stout would be back in some capacity. And then Stout says in another podcast that would be news to him. And then Sirianni said that from his comments, it kind of seemed like Stout was out. So interesting, odd, but Stout watch is on?
I mean, of course, again, Jeffrey Lurie touched on the situation a bit, called him family and all this stuff. But it's like when you look at everything, specifically, finally having the opportunity to hear from Stout, it's like I don't want to say the bridge is burned. I mean, all things can be reconciled, but at the same time, I think that you'll be hard pressed to find Stout in that building anytime over the next 365 days. So,
Yeah,
I mean, kind of like the same conversations we've had about it over the last few months. It sucks, like from a culture standpoint and like just morale standpoint. You lose probably the fan favorite or the team favorite in terms of coaches, the long term guy, like longest tenured coach in the locker room. Like it sucks, but I mean,
face of the
from
team,
what they're trying to, right? But from everything that they're trying to build at this point, it's like, I mean, it was bound to happen anyway. So, honestly, all this stuff is just for aesthetics. Like,
yeah.
even if that was around, what do we expect, or what would
I
be
mean,
the goal?
I've outlined it before from a, if he wants to take a step back from the coaching aspect, but help with scouting and player development, I think that would be really cool because I think he has a good eye for that, right? He has one of the most improbable stories in football history under his belt, right? With creating helping create the tackle that is Pro Bowl tackle, all second team All Pro once, right?
Oh, you talking about Mylotta?
Mylata,
I
has
think
he,
so.
right? I want to say
Wasn't he
so.
second team All Pro last year?
I want to say, he was. Let me look it up.
Well, and then the for
But
sure
yeah.
guarantee
But
All Pro and Lane
regardless,
Johnson.
right? So yeah, second team All Pro in 2024. So an All Pro tackle from a guy who'd never played football before, right? So he obviously has an eye for that type of thing and can help with development in some sort of way, shape, or form. That's what I would be interested in. But like you said, Quo, I totally agree. A lot of hurt feelings, a lot of odd dynamics right now, and probably isn't the time. And I think he wanted to take the year off from coaching as it is. So
Just gonna suck to see him come back next year and be on another sideline. Like, damn,
brother. He'll be back. He'll be back. I'm not even thinking about that. Another one was Jihad Campbell's shoulder. Progressing still. Haven't really heard too much. Classic kind of Nick answer on it, but that one's going to be important, to keep an eye on throughout the year, especially with Nakobe gone. We're gonna need Jihad to take a step up. The shoulder was a red flag from before, but if you can manage it and work with it, there's no problems. Nakobe had the medical red flags too. We need to make sure we can get him on the field and stay in there.
Yeah, man. And I guess for me with Jihad, I mean, of course, it isn't ideal. You don't expect him to be available for a majority of training camp this off season. From rumors, I think it was Vic that said that. But as long as he's ready to go for the season, man, I mean, I still expect him to take that step. I mean, of course, ideally, you want to be around in training camp, but still getting the opportunity for him to get those mental reps and another opportunity for some of the younger guys like Smell Mondin, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. to kind of make a play, man. Could earn yourself a niche on this roster this year, man.
Yeah.
Of course,
and who's the new guy we just brought in? We just signed him today. I'll get his name. That's not good podcasting by me, but he had some fun highlights. He's clearly
I think I heard of him. Wasn't he hurt last year?
Okay, Chandler Martin from from UDFA from Baltimore, but he had a little highlight tape that somebody posted up. I like the way he moves. He does kind of remind me of Nakobe in the way he moves, but very explosive, smaller guy, plays just angry,
Yeah, man. I mean, I was very curious to see if the Eagles attempt to feel that kind of skill set.
That archetype, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course, we've harped on for the longest. That was almost the entire point of the Jahad Campbell pick, being able to pair a guy like Jahad with Zach Bond and what you'll be able to do from a multiplicity standpoint defensively, but also Nakobe and what he was able to do as a blitzer. And shout out to Nakobe. He was asked about Jahad and what the Eagles fans should look forward to, and he tried to give him as much love as possible on the way out, as much love as possible, and just hyped him up with every element of his game. I'm like, shout out to you, man. That's why you're always such a great leader. But I just feel like it's so much to be excited about. I mean, it's not ideal that he suffered the injury, and hopefully it doesn't result in some kind of setback. But I'm excited to see exactly who and what he is this season specifically.
Yeah, I definitely agree with your overall sentiment, man. But I will say I think, and maybe it's just from how you're phrasing it, but I think the lack of practice this year is definitely a red flag for me. It's a little bit worrying because I think the thing that he needed the most was reps last year, just like in the new system, in a new position. Because especially like playing in Vic's defense, all those different types of things, those moving parts, wanted him to get reps. And then obviously Nakobe came in and took the lion's share of the reps. So then Jahad wasn't able to get those reps. So I really, really wanted him to get those reps. But yeah, you get mental reps. But I think because of that, we have to temper expectations. And I'm saying this half to myself because I know myself. I'll be frustrated week one if he's not playing well. But we have to temper expectations. And like, we have to look at how he's playing probably mid-October. Once you're in like early mid-October, that's when you'll kind of know what this
hopefully starts to get in the swing of things.
Exactly, because if he's not going to really be able to play much in training camp, then you have to like get ready for practice and the season. It's just those things add up quickly, right? But I do think he's the type of guy who can hit his stride, but it's just a matter of making sure he's in the position to be able to hit that stride, right? Which easier said than done. But a lot of opportunity there in that locker room for guys to step up. So that's the other side of it. I like that you said that because they've been in the building. Trot Jr., we've seen some flashes from him. So, you almost feel bad though. Like it's another offseason for Trot of like starting reps, and then the season's gonna come around and they're gonna be like, "Hey, brother, like, gonna need you as the third linebacker."
It's okay. So he gets to enjoy life in Philadelphia. I wonder if he still lives with his parents like he did when he got drafted.
I hope he does. Man. Save that money, young man.
Yep, save that money and keep putting on, getting all these reps. And then eventually this contract will be up and somebody going to buy the mystery box. Like, look, maybe the Eagles just had such a deep room they couldn't play him. But what if he is a starting linebacker, especially with the league trending back with more 13, 12 personnel, heavier sets? We need guys like you in the box.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's a 100-year Civil War. Just going to go back and forth. So, exactly. Yeah, interesting kind of dynamic in the linebacker room to keep an eye on. Another thing is seems like I like the positivity around Mannion. Seems like things are kind of meshing within the building with Mannion, and people are feeling pretty positive about it. Obviously we've known that in Jalen's comments compared to his comments about Patullo, he seems a little bit more confident in what's out there, and then just from some of the comments that we just heard, it sounds like they're gonna just get this thing right, and Mannion's just had his eye on Jalen as well, and it's clear that he's watched the film of Jalen, knows where Jalen strong, where Jalen can improve, and this is exactly what Jalen needed, right? Like he didn't just need somebody who'd be a yes man in the quarterback room. He needed somebody who's gonna demand the best of him and expects that and knows it. You're on mute, bro. We're both on mute.
Typical podcast. Now we're here. But I just think often about that final scene of the season with Jalen and Patullo and Nick, and they get the final call in, and Jalen just looks at Patulo, then he looks at Nick like, "Are you serious? Are you sure?" And then, of course, you got the other scene from where he's having the conversation with Patulo, and he just walks away and just shakes his head. Like, so many different points where it was
Bro
clear.
literally
Like,
just walked away. He was like, all right. All right.
it was clear. It was obvious.
Do you remember the
So,
comments like after the like when they were packing up the locker room? He's like, I mean, I guess like that was essentially like what what his comments were. He was like, yeah, all right, I guess we'll see.
so like you said, for him to have it's hard to say adult because Sean Mannion's been doing this for 2 years, but a well-respected voice, I shall say, in the room is very encouraging. And I mean, again, I think once we get off, brother, you need to go listen to that press conference. There was a lot of good gems in there from
Yeah,
what Jeff put out there, but it was another
I'll
thing
do
where
that.
it was a few things where he talked about where you a lot of it felt like just I don't want to say coach speak, but owner speak. And then it was some stuff where it really felt like he was pulling the curtain back, and it was like, oh yeah, you could tell how he feels about this. Like when he got asked about Jalen, you could really tell he gushed about Jalen. Absolutely loved Jalen. Talking about there's no bigger fan in the world of Jalen than him. But then similar conversation when he got asked about Sean Mannion,
Pierre
man.
would have a word about that. Sorry, Jeff.
I don't know, man. My man done changed the uniform policy for Jalen Hurts.
He did pay Jalen until Pierre is willing to pay Jalen a couple mil. I think Jeff take the cookie. So you're right, Quell.
Yeah, like, look, all I can do is buy sweaters, brother. Hopefully, you get all the
He's like, I got
funds.
every color of the hurt of the love hurts colorway. Like, please, I got everything.
But when Jeffrey got asked about Sean Mannion, another guy that he absolutely gushed about, and it kind of,
Good.
I don't want to say it confirmed everything that we thought or everything that we talked about earlier in the offseason, where this was a typical Jeffrey Lurie hire, man. While Nick Sirianni may have been quote unquote leading the interviews and things of that nature, it continued to be mentioned that both Jeffrey and his son Julian were in the back of these interviews, kind of taking notes, maybe pitching in every now and then. But when you listen to Jeffrey have the chance to talk about Sean Mannion, you just hear basically the whole. And we don't know, like he said, we don't know if it's going to work out yet. But this is a typical up his alley hire. So the young offensive guru, and he even dated back to talking about guys like Sean Payton when they had him in Philadelphia and things of that nature. So he clearly feels really strongly about the hire specifically. And then when you started to hear them talking nuance about the scheme, and I mean, of course, he ain't telling you what they gonna do schematically, but
Right.
you can tell that during this process, they clearly fell in love with that Shanahan McVay style of football, where he talked about how, well, not only do because we know defenses have answers and responses. Well, not only do we have answers for the defenses, responses, and how just so many different counterparts that works into the intricacies of the offense. And it's like, okay, Jeffrey, I hear you. Like he almost was gushing at some point talking about what the offense could potentially look like. So it was fun to hear.
Absolutely, dude. It seems like, and I want to go through and watch Jeff's, but it sounds like he's got a little bit of energy back. I think the way last year ended just sucked the air out of everyone's lungs, man. Like it just was such a gut punch, and I guess we should be used to it because we do it every other year. But it feels like Jeff is ready for another Super Bowl run. We got 2 Gators on the team, brother. We got 2.
Said it, man. He said that he wants to get that third Lombardi trophy faster, like more faster now than later. So
Then go get Devin Moore. We need a Gator DB now.
gracious goodness, man.
I'm telling. Hey, listen, it's a fact. It's happened twice. It's a fact. Jalen Watkins to C.J. Gardner-Johnson to Devin Moore. It's the evolutionary line. I do think though Devin Moore. I think Devin Moore would be an interesting pick for this team. I think he has a ton of potential. Just been injured, but like at a CB2, if he can get in the building, get healthy, dude's got the size, dude's got the speed. He's got ball skills too. I've always been impressed when I've seen him healthy on the field. Have you watched this film yet?
Yeah, I
What'd you
think
think?
I'm finalizing on my cornerback grades. I think I had him as my cornerback 22. Now that, of course, it sounds negative when you say it out loud, but I say it's a couple positions in this class between cornerback, wide receiver, and edge. It's like, man, you you sit here and you get to talking about players. Like, I got my guys in this class that I'm sitting here and I tell you where I have them ranked at, and it's like, look, it's not as bad as it sounds, okay?
Right, there's
It's
just
just that
hella
the
players.
players, his peers, are just really good too. So,
And that
but
makes sense. I mean, you have with more and more teams running multiple receiver sets, you have more and more draft eligible receivers. And then if they're running multiple receiver sets, then you need multiple cornerbacks to be able to defend. So you just have higher numbers of all these players as compared to other positions. Because I mean, how many teams are running 11 and 10 mostly for everything at this point? It's
yeah,
interesting.
man. And I mean, just to answer your question, I had to put it on my scouting report, where
Yeah,
a lot of similar sentiments that you feel like when he's on the field, he's really fun. He's a really a solid overall corner, both from a man and zone perspective. The size was what jumps off the screen at you. I wish he add a couple pounds, which he probably will once he gets to the next
yeah,
level. But 6'3", 198, not too shabby frame. And the injury history is,
it's
again, the
crazy.
thing that stands out, where it's like when you hear good football player, it's just
I don't think he's
how
finished the season. It's been that bad.
he's only had one full season of consistent starting experience over 4 years.
Yeah, and even that, he probably missed games in that season. Like he's like made of glass, but when he's on the field, I've always been impressed with his fluidity. Like I always thought that his hips, especially for his size, that he can just move extremely impressively for for that size. But yeah, I think that's all fair. I think it's all fair. Interesting player, but hey, the best availability is, or sorry, the best ability is availability.
And my man gave away the joke before the joke even got
I
here.
know, man. I know. It's because I cannot breathe. I'll be right back again. I whole week, and then today, it decided to just.
So I don't know how I keep doing this. Mute it again. I'm just sitting here, mouth all moving, and I'm like, something's not right. Look up, like, oh my gosh, mute it, guy, mute it. But so let's see if there was any more takeaways from the press conference that I had. Oh, Pierre, we gotta set up shop and everything, boss. But see if there's anything more I had from the press conference that garnered my interest. He talked about. Well, did you get the chance to check out any of the presser, Pierre?
Give me a second. My computer is tripping.
Oh, got the boot. Oh,
I'm still
got
split
that.
in half. I don't know what they want me to
Hold
do.
on.
Man.
Live podcasting. There we go.
Bang!
Okay,
Look at
we
that.
good. What's up, guys?
What's up, brother?
So, can't
All right,
breathe.
so
Sick.
I haven't had a chance to check out Lurie's presser, but I did catch some of Sirianni's, and I did do some reading up on Howie. Where were y'all?
I'm just touching on a little bit of everything, man.
No more AJ Brown talk though. No more AJ Brown talk. You missed your chance.
We have to.
I'm over it. I'm completely
Okay, good.
I'm over it.
No more.
I don't want to talk about it. But
You
I guess I can
saying that
start
now
with
until you listen to that press conference.
to Lurie's.
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
it's
But
not encouraging.
just to give my bit of a spiel on it, from Sirianni, a couple of things I thought that was interesting from him. He talked about the wide receiver core, talked about adding speed to the position group. I think him and how we talked about it. So I think it was kind of encouraging to hear both of them bring that up, because it's something that a lot of Eagles fans have been clamoring for. Not just like guys that they've had in the past in terms of like dirty work, kind of do it all type of guys, versus like now it seems like it's going to be an effort to get like specific guys that like defenses have to plan for, who offer the element of speed as a threat, and not even just it being Hollywood or Elijah Moore themselves, but just overall fact that they view that as an area to upgrade. Specifically as the draft kind of approaches, I think that was something that was, like I said, encouraging to hear. Then also from Nick, hearing him talk about, I can't remember who asked the question, but he talked about the guys needing time away from him and him needing time away from the guys. And I think specifically Jalen, he mentioned him by name, but I think that kind of illuminates how rough this past season was. Like, coming off a Super Bowl, the injuries with Landon and Cam Jurgens and everything like that. And then Tulo, him being the first-time offensive coordinator, and them having to kind of plan for that. And just overall turmoil on a week-to-week basis. I think they kind of needed like a total reset, and, Nick's answer plays into that. But even the offensive scheme changed too. I think like everything just needed a bit of a reset of sorts.
Totally agree, man. Totally agree. And I mean, that's how I felt listening to him talk about Mannion as well. That like just seems like a fresher breath air. Seems like the vibes. Oh boy,
fresher breath air. That was funny.
A breath of fresh air.
Breath air, dude. I'm telling you, I genuinely cannot think right now. My nose just keeps running, and now it's like, when you just like blow your nose so much, it just starts like tearing at the bottom, and then every time you blow your nose, it's like, ow. I'm right there. I woke up out of a nap. Bro, I just took Zyrtec before the show.
Something.
Killing me, man. But I definitely think that there's just like better vibes. They're feeling a little bit better, because it was shitty, dude. It was just so ass. Like every moment was just like pulling teeth.
Yeah, everything felt so heavy. Like on a week-to-week basis, it felt so difficult just trying to get any semblance of like, I won't even say consistency, but just any semblance of like routine, regular
base, right? Like somewhere to grow from. There was just nothing. Yeah. It was just like constantly just spinning your wheels in place, right? Like if you've ever driven onto the beach with a car and you try to get out, you just the wheels, unless you kind of go slowly or put some floor mats underneath the wheels so they have some traction, you're just spinning your wheels in place, and you can press the gas as hard as you want, but you won't move forward.
Yeah, and I think, them trying to repeat and, the success that they had and everything like that, I think that kind of played a part into it too, where it's like, you're trying so hard to get back to where you were. Like, you're the defending Super Bowl champions. Like, you want to come out every week and show like you're that good. And so,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think you made a really good point. They were trying to reclaim the magic of last year. But if there's one thing we know about the NFL, is that it's a constantly changing league, and no year is the same as the past. So you have to be willing to evolve. You have to have different ways of doing things. And maybe they tried and failed at that. To be honest, I'm so sick of rehashing all of it and looking through it all. It was a failure, right? It doesn't matter if they tried. It was an abject failure. That's the fact of the matter. That's what happened. So now you try again, because that's sports. It's what you do. You get back on the saddle and you figure it out. It's life too. So I agree with you, man. You can't, like, I'm glad they're just trying something different. Like, let's, if it's broke, fix it. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it's broke, fix it for sure. And it was broke last year. So
yeah. And I think I've talked about it before, but like, and I know we rag on Nick, and I myself, I've done my fair share of it, but just for him, having that level of humility to kind of like completely change the offensive approach, like change the scheme, like for him to just go outside of himself, like, because he talked about it, like how he didn't go into the search looking for a totally new, different scheme, but once that presented itself, he was like, oh yeah, this we should move towards this.
I was talking to Parth earlier on before you got on about when Jeffrey had the chance to speak about it too, and just when you have the opportunity to hear all of them, honestly, to speak about Sean Mannion, it's just like a breath of fresh air, like you mentioned, Parth, where it's like everybody's so excited about the new, not just the nuances of the scheme, but the possibilities of what it could do for almost everybody there, man, from a Jalen Hurts to a Devonta Smith standpoint, where it's really exciting about what it could be. It's just about what the roster looks like around that at this point right now, where what we're trying to get to.
But not to cut you off, something that's interesting, like we've heard, like they expect internally in the building, they expect Devontae to have a huge role. Like Jalen Sirianni talked about it, where the Minnesota game, that's kind of what he envisions for the offense. I haven't heard Saquon's name brought up at all. And it's interesting because this scheme, it is like it's based off the run. Like it's a run-centric offensive scheme. So you would think like maybe he would get some sort of love. I haven't heard his name brought up at all or seen it.
I think it's definitely a run-centric scheme at heart. But is that what people think about when you look at the teams? Because let's look at the Seahawks, for example, right? You have Kenneth Walker there, who and shit, I shouldn't forget his name. Who is the other guy? Zach Charbonnet, right? Like you have those guys who are legit top tier running backs, had good seasons, but everyone was talking about JSN, right? Like, oh, look at the way JSN is doing. It's just the spectacular thing because you can do at the receiver position. It's just maybe it's easier. Maybe I think I don't know. That's up for debate because you're still depending on so many other pieces to work out in order to succeed. But I think it's just like the especially after the last year, just the way everybody was looking at it. How much did we personally ask for, Devontae to be put into motion and run routes like JSN or any of these guys? So that's the way that I've seen it. Is like they know what everybody has seen and has been kind of clamoring for, and now we get some of that. We know what Saquon can do, right? But now we can maximize what Devontae can do as well.
And I think it's I know we said enough of the AJ Brown talk, but I think it's very telling. Every single time the AJ Brown's name gets mentioned over this weekend, they find some way somehow to just bring Devonta Smith into the conversation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, but don't forget we have not just a wide receiver one, a 1A, 1B, 2 wide receiver ones. And it's like they are clearly broadcasting the fact that Devonta, they what they truly think about Devonta. I don't know if this is AJ Brown.
I mean, I think it's a thing where we've talked about it before, but like I don't think any of us see AJ being here past this season. Like even if it's not a thing for this upcoming season, where like they want to get Smitty as like the featured guy in the offense. I genuinely do think if AJ is here this upcoming season, this is last year here.
I would agree with that. And Quell, just to push back, I think that's always been their messaging too. Is anytime you bring up one of the guys, they always bring up the other one. Like that's just kind of been something Nick does. Is he loves the 1A, 1B, which we do as well. Huh?
It was bigger than Nick. Everybody did it. All of them.
I agree, but I think it's just I think it's been messaging.
Everybody.
Agreed, but I think Howie has also been part of that messaging, and so has Jeffrey. If you go back and look at their press conferences over the last couple of years, I would say that they've had similar sentiments about the guys. And the question that was kind of asked where Nick brought it up was asking if Devontae would be able to step in as a wide receiver one if AJ wasn't here. Right, which is in that case you are supposed that's the correct response, right? So understand what you're saying. Antenna is absolutely up, but on the other hand, I do think it's status quo for the Eagles because we do have 2 wide receiver ones. That's actually the truth. A lot of teams have wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, but we legitimately have 2 guys who can do both. I'm sorry, I gotta go blow my nose again.
Y'all talked about Howie.
In some fashion. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know. He didn't really say much that kind of perked my ears.
I could find the damn video.
I told you, bro, there is no video.
I know. That's the problem.
You have to really like go and search and try and find his answers. But I thought it was interesting. Both him and Nick talked about the safety position, and the word they used was incomplete. I think they both know like they need to add to the position. But Howie himself, he brought up Andrew Makuba, and he talked about how they spent a 2nd-round pick on him. And I think internally, I think they have high hopes for him. And he's definitely going to factor into, what they do at the position. But at the same time, like, I don't think the fact that you took Makuba in the second round should preclude you from, say, if Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is there in the first round. I don't think the selection of Makuba should preclude you from taking him.
If you ask me though, bro, to be honest, like I'm okay with Makuba being there, but that would make me want to focus on bringing in a vet even more so, because I think it's just going to be a younger room, and I think a veteran presence would be helpful there. You know, in some of those moments where things are a little bit crazy, like you just have somebody who's a little bit steady and understanding of it.
I mean, brother, I don't know if you know, but that guy's already there.
Marcus Epps?
Yeah. He's already there.
Yeah, I guess, but Marcus Epps is
it's not flashy, but he get the job done. He gets the job done.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I definitely think you need. I don't know.
Like, I think it's a thing where, like, with the way they're talking about it, like, they clearly realize they need to upgrade at the position. So it's a thing where, like, you can't spend a 4th, 5th round pick and say, this is us addressing the position.
I just would rather bring in I have to look at who'd be out there. But I would rather bring in. Yeah, I knew there was somebody, Justin Simmons, or I thought there was one more guy who had. It was Minka that we were talking about. Potentially they would trade, but it seems like that's not going to happen. But Justin Simmons,
Minka's on the Jets now.
Oh, that's
I
right.
think he's on the Jets, didn't he? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
he went for like a 6th or 7th round pick, I think.
Yeah, something like that. So that would have been one that I would have been interested in. Justin Simmons is one that I would be interested in because, I mean, look, you have Marcus Epps there, but then your two, top safeties are a rookie and a second-year guy who got injured in the middle of the year, right? So that's just it's a lot of pressure back there. But
But I think like this. Yeah, I am. I want to see my guy shine. If he got to play, I want to. Of course. No, that's fair. Think that also goes into the Rick Williams signing, which my reasoning for it. It's like how he said, like he kind of acknowledged like all the stuff with him, where it's like I think the word he used was consistent, where he needs to be more consistent. Yeah. I think taking a risk like that, you're comfortable doing it, and also with the safety position, you're comfortable not necessarily investing top tier assets in it because of the infrastructure that you have back there with Quignon and Cooper. Like it allows for them to have a little bit of leeway. Sure.
But last year we used the leeway on Adoree', right? Like it was like you can,
exactly. That's a great point.
You can kind of refactor it. So yeah, you like now you're betting.
But I mean, Reek is clearly a better football player at this point than Adoree' Jackson.
But Reek also had 36 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties last season. So like you got to be careful, right? So I'm not saying that Reek Willen is not a better player than Adoree' Jackson, right? That's not what I'm trying to say. But you have a lot of newer kind of moving parts that are joining at the same time, right? Where at that point you're kind of like, okay, like,
but that's
we have to see how this all works out.
Yeah, but that's why I feel like them having a guy like Epps who's shown he can play in the system and be competent. Like, I think,
I agreed. But so I guess the way I'm trying to say it is like, you have. What's the best way to put this? Yeah, you can have the competency, and the competency is good. But if anybody else is struggling, right? If Reek is struggling for some reason, or if Makuba is struggling for some reason, you need a little bit better than competent in order to make up for that gap, right? Now this is all
so we don't push back against you to give you some pushback in that argument. I mean, we've talked a lot, so much over the last couple of years about the amount of conversation, the different match coverage rules that happens back there, the communications that have to happen on a down-to-down basis from the secondary players, and how it was going to be impacted. You having two new guys in the secondary last year from what they had the previous season. And then when you look at this year, I mean, Reek may be better than what we had in Adoree'. You still need a sense of consistency at the safety position, because at some point, like, what are you going to call if you're Fangio? You can't keep. You don't want to continue to live in quarters if you don't have a safety that you can believe or that you believe understands your match principles that you want to do back there and some of these rules and all of that stuff. Where a guy like Epps, he's proven that he may not be perfect, but he knows exactly what you want, what he's asked to do in this role specifically. So I think while it may not be flashy, it is enough consistency there that makes life easier on a guy like Reek who's starting to learn the system. You don't want too many new pieces.
But that's kind of
my guy Marcus. He did start on the Super Bowl defense. Come on now.
Did they win?
Hey,
we know why they didn't win. We know why they didn't win. We know why they didn't win. But
the last penalty came from what position group? The defensive backs on the.
It's so hilarious how we sit here and people try to commonly say we lost this game because of Jonathan Gannon. Where 60 minutes after that game was over, we was like, the Sod Father, because the Sod Father, and here we are 3 years later. It's like, you know what? Brother, it was Jonathan Gannon's fault.
Well, it's because I would expect, it was a Sod Father. I was emotional at the time, but then afterwards I was like, well, shit. Jonathan Gannon, the defensive coordinator, could see the same thing and did not make any adjustments. He just continued to let his boys just slip around. He's like, oh, God. Because he was thinking about where his house in Arizona was going to be, Quell. That's exactly why he wasn't making any adjustments. Because he was like,
he was on the sideline.
Should I get grabbed with Kingsbury's old place with the windows?
He was on the sideline. I'm like, you know what? This is a good view. I think I'm going to stand here next season.
Right. He's like, I wonder what the locker room is like. Let me go check out the home locker room next. That's what he was thinking about at halftime. What a clown. I agree.
What's the best angle for me to see the play clock?
Right, exactly. I agree, but you have two new parts because I don't think you can say Makuba is a known part at this point because he missed so much time and he was
really good. Vic talked really highly about him prior to the injury.
Oh well, absolutely, but like he played what 3, 4, 5 games last year.
And I guess how I see it is if they're willing to go into, and I mean of course draft capital plays a factor in all this stuff. But if they're willing to go into a season with Makuba being the face of the position, they must feel really strongly. And I mean, they continue to name drop him in press conferences specifically, where it's like they don't have to say his name.
I don't have an issue with Makuba as much as I have the issue with Epps because I think like Makuba is a younger player. He's a high upside player. You have Epps, fine. He understands the system and he can kind of be a good slot in piece there. But if you can bring in Justin Simmons, who probably understands the system better, I would say probably still has a higher ceiling just because of what he's able to do last year, I would feel more comfortable having that in there and then having Epps as a backup to that. Because now all of a sudden, then I think you can say that your DB room is a legitimate strength. You have 3 guys, and I also think the big thing is I've harped on this a lot. I thought Reed was extremely important to communication back there and to understanding the system and to make sure everybody was in the right place. And I think Justin Simmons can play that kind of role as well because he's played with Fangio on the back. He knows the system. He can do all those things, huh?
We got to let this die. This whole Justin Simmons dream, it got to die. Man didn't play a single snap of football last year. I'm not playing the guy that didn't play a single snap of football last year over Marcus Epps, who was more than competent down the stretch last year.
But he had how many games did he play in the Eagles last year?
Epps?
Marcus, I think
it's about 5. I think he started.
Yeah, he had 4 starts. I mean, are we willing to bet the season on 4 starts?
Did you see what the rest of the safeties look like?
That's kind of my point, bro. Like that's kind of the point where it's like I don't think we can like for next year. I just would want the defensive back room to be a strength again because last year was something that we had to work around, and this year I think there's just going to be more things that we're going to have to be adjusting to throughout the year. And it's not a bad thing. It's just it was a natural progression of where we expected things to go. But that's why I think it would just be helpful to have one room where you can just kind of be like, okay, like we can depend on this room to just have they'll have everything straight and we can focus on everything else. Cause like we talked about, Jihad's not going to have any reps for camp. So that means you have one linebacker who you expect to start the entire season and is going to be playing camp.
Did they say, I thought they said Jihad, he might miss like the off-season program, but he'd be back for training camp. Or am I?
We were saying we thought he was missing training camp.
I thought Vic said he was going to miss most of training camp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who knows? But like that's just kind of my point, where it's like now, your linebacker room, you have some questions about. We already like the D line, we have some new pieces that we're adding as well. I want one position where one position group where I can be like, okay, like I know these guys, have it together, and we have two of our studs back there. I just want to, back them up even more. That's where it comes down to, or that's where it comes from.
It's understandable, man. How I explained it. Go ahead.
So I got the Vic quote here. He said he's dealing with a shoulder injury. He's gonna miss probably most of the offseason, so we're gonna have to cram it into him. In training camp, and hopefully we have enough work to get that done for him. So The way I interpret that, I think he'll probably be healthy for training camp, or he'll be on the field at least.
I hope.
We shouldn't expect to see until August.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But even then, that's not ton of reps. And what Quell and I were talking about earlier is like that's the one thing Jihad needs the most, right? And that's what sucks about this is that like he's injured, but like the number one thing he needs at this point in time is just reps. And so that's why I said like I don't think you can.
I agree, but at the same time, like he did put some good stuff on film last year. Like,
he also put a lot of.
He showed he can play.
He showed he can play, but he also put.
That's true.
Yeah, and like those are the things he needs to work through. Yeah, but that's my point. He's going to be a rookie again, essentially. He's going to be a rookie again, and this time there's no one who we can be like, oh, things aren't working. We'll just break in case of emergency. That's the point. Like,
excuse me, is this Jeremiah Trotter erasure?
Huh? We already talked about that. We talked about that, but like. We'll see, right? We'll see, and he has a great opportunity if Jihad is missing time. And I also said I feel bad for him because he had the same opportunity last year, and then they were like, "All right, brother, appreciate your service. Get back to the second string and third string, bro." But that's just where I think I'm high on Jihad Campbell, but he's just gonna have to work through things, and that's why I said like I don't think you can really judge how he's looking until like mid-October, because I think he's going to be making mistakes in the earlier months of the season. Then he can settle in, but that's why I think he needs reps, man. He needs reps, especially in the system. There's going to be more pressure on him, and that's okay. Like that's why we drafted him in the first round, but that's why you need reps too. Because the thing is like it's a different position, but DJ Lagway, for example, right? Like he looked good in his first year. He showed the flashes. But what he needed was reps. And then he ended up getting injured in the offseason. Didn't really get to practice until August. And then by the time he got there in August, it was like, you'll get some reps in, but you don't have enough, right? And then you kind of, if you play it right, you'll get through it, throughout the season as you kind of play things. But reps are important for these young players, man. That's what that comes down to. And I worry that he doesn't get enough practice time. But hopefully if he's able to get most of training camp, then I think that's trending in the right direction. But missing another offseason would really be tough for him because he missed time last offseason too, right? Like he missed the first month and a half of camp.
I think so, yeah.
So anything else?
I don't really have anything else.
Q? Mute, brother.
Yeah, mute, brother.
Damn it, it's like the third time. It's been a long day. Shout out to Jay, man. Much love and respect to you too, my guy.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for tapping in, bro. Nice profile picture.
But
question. I know we said we didn't want to talk about it, but by the time never mind. That's not
Nope.
Not even.
Well, what was your thought, brother?
My thought is I have about 2 weeks until I am in full party mode. So as you guys can see, I'm exhausted. But as I say all the time, work harder. No one cares.
Absolutely. And if you guys haven't, make sure you're tapping into Quell's Boom or Bust. He's had a crazy list of who's in the draft world.
All pros.
tweeted that out from his page as well. So just make sure you check out those podcasts. It'll get you right for the draft. About a month out, less than a month at this point. So everyone get ready. Make sure you're tapping into those. Make sure you're
live. Yeah, we'll be live as per usual every year for night 1 and night 2 of the draft. We're debating potentially day 3, but for sure on day 1 and day 2.
So make sure to tap in with your boys. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars. You guys know the drill. And we appreciate you guys as always. Thank you for spending your Tuesday night with us here. And
hey, real quick, Parth. You at the crib, right?
Yeah, I talked about it earlier, man. We went through the evolution of the Philly Blitz pods. Started with P's and Q's, then you jumped in, went to the 3-person screen. But it's crazy, dude. It's crazy. So much has happened here in this house. We had our first live pod here, so a lot of memories. But we'll be back.
That was the first time all 3 of us met each other in person.
Very true. Very true. So we love Philly. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.